Welcome to Housing Developments.
I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez. Welcome.
Welcome. Paul, how are you?
Doing well, man.
Good.
Second episode.
Second episode.
We got some really good feedback on our first one, so
yeah.
we're back.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the kudos on the live kind of video version, and hopefully you're enjoying it in your car or on your phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to stop the banter here real quick because we have breaking news. There we go. Supreme Court decision. Our members and builders have been hearing about this for months now. I don't know if you want to start teeing it up.
Yeah, the Sackett decision, the much talked about Sackett decision. Remember, this was the first case of the Supreme Court's session back in October, and somehow here we are at the end of May, and it's finally come out. So as an industry, we've been waiting this forever. Great decision for us, Paul. You know the numbers.
Yeah. So shockingly, it was a 9-0 unanimous decision at the top level, right? And then when you start digging down a little bit deeper, you see that there was a little bit of dissension, but still it was a big victory for our guys.
Yeah.
But Sackett, the family itself, 9-0, they basically said, absolutely, there's no way that this should have fallen under the WOTUS.
That's right.
The WOTUS rule. How they got there was a little bit different. 5-4, Kavanaugh shockingly moved over to the liberal side of things and said this kind of makes it a little bit too narrow for the EPA to do its deal. But overall, a big victory. But it ended up 5-4. Either way, it's going to change the way that the Biden administration has to deal with the EPA and WOTUS in the future, right? Yeah,
a great win for Jim Rizzo, Tom Ward, and the legal advocacy team who we've been partnered to the lawsuit. I mean, this is a big one for us. You all know the statistics. 25% of the cost of a newly built single family home embedded in regulation. Almost 42% of a single family or a multifamily unit. These are the kind of regulations we're talking about that contribute to that 25 or 42%. So to see the Supreme Court do what we'd hoped they were going to do, which is, number one, let the poor Sacketts off the hook here for having to find jury. Number one. Number two, the Biden administration is going to have to go back to the drawing board on their WOTUS regulation. And for us, that means a much more balanced regulatory environment when it comes to land development and how people have to go get a federal permit. So, the story's still going to be written on how this plays out, but a consequential opinion from the Supreme Court today.
No, absolutely. And like we said, this is literally just came out 30 minutes, from us airing this. So we'll let Jim Rizzo and Tom Ward do their jobs, kind of piece it out,
right?
And you'll be hearing about this, for a while now, as we start really starting to develop what this means to the rank and file member.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great. So economic news. Let's talk a little bit about some numbers that came out.
Yeah, things are starting to stack up in our favor a little bit. This week we had new home sales. They were actually up 4.1% to a seasonally adjusted rate of 683,000 units. This is a big win for us. This is the largest number we've seen since March of 2022. Right. So even more encouraging, though, it was the $200,000 to $400,000 range of homes. Yeah. They're the ones that had the big increase, which, as you know, is critical for first-time home buyers. Exactly. So I think we're in good shape there. Then add that to the fact that, we had overall starts, kick in and jump up a little bit last week as well. It's no wonder that we saw the HMI go from a negative territory to that solid 50, point number. That means that they're no longer kind of freaking out and things are looking better.
Yeah, no, definitely the builder optimism is out there, and these numbers kind of bear that out. So you're cautiously optimistic, right? What would Rob Dietz say?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think what Rob would say is the big issue is inventory, right? Like up until now, still right. But getting tighter by the month. Historically, new home sales account for about 10 to 12% of inventory. Right now, we're touching about 33%. Yeah. So the builders are ecstatic because there's no other game in town other than new home construction because the existing inventory is just not there.
Which speaks again to the importance of local governments getting out of the way of more housing production.
That's absolutely right.
If new homes are going to be a bigger part of the pie when it comes to sales, then that means we've got to figure out how to build more new homes.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So let's talk a little bit about government then. Let's kind of pivot over. Yesterday, Governor Ron DeSantis threw his hat in.
Yeah, threw his hat in, then kind of jumped up and down on it a little bit with the rollout on Twitter. So bumpy starts. Look, every campaign goes through ups and downs. Maybe if this is the deepest trough, then the governor will probably have a pretty good run at it. So he's the latest. Of course, we saw Tim Scott jump in last week, or actually earlier this week. Tim Scott is now in the ring. We've got Nikki Haley in the ring. We've got, let's see who else. Vitek Ramaswamy's in the ring. He was kind of the first one, of course.
Hutchinson.
Asa Hutchinson's in the race. There's we've heard. There's a lot of people that are still looking at it. It's going to get crowded. I don't know if we get up to the 16 that we had back in 2016 when now former President Trump came through the field. But we're getting up towards double digits soon, I think. But Donald Trump continues to be kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the room. It's still his to lose in a strange way. But I think that Ron DeSantis is now the one. I think people think either you call him the heir apparent to the Trump era,
right, or
it might be his biggest competitor. But that's, I think, where we're going to see this race start to settle in a little bit. Long way to go. I mean, we're not less than a year away from those first primaries, but there's a long way to go. And certainly, what Ron DeSantis is going to have is money, and that's what the fuel is going to keep that rocket ship moving. So it's going to be an interesting summer.
Yeah, and for Trump, he loves it, right? The more people that are in the race, the better it is for him, because he's got 20-25% of the base locked in.
Yep.
So if everybody else gets spread around through the remainders, then that's great for him, because that's essentially how he won it the last time, right?
Yeah, there's two theories of how this works. One is that if there's only a couple of challengers to Trump, the party might be able to find an easier alternative to President Trump. The more that get into the race, they divide that search for an alternative, and by the time you get to the early primaries, Trump just runs away from it, and everybody else is just playing catch up with single digit or maybe a couple double digit points. Is
there anybody in particular that you're waiting to see when or if they'll jump into the primaries?
I think Governor Sununu is toying with it. He didn't jump into the Senate race up there. He might have very well have won and flipped the New Hampshire Senate seat if he decided to come to Washington, D.C. as a senator. He declined that. He's certainly conservative. He's got those bona fides, but whether or not he's, in order to take on Trump, you got to be willing to really take on Trump and not just get punched, but punch back. Chris Christie's toying with it. That's another one. He's been a really big foil to President Trump. He's kind of been willing to take him on.
Yeah.
And maybe that's his role in this race, is he's willing to take the slings and arrows from Trump that will allow another alternative to emerge. So those are the other ones I'm watching for in the short term here. But look, the other side of this is whether or not any of these other court cases that are against President Trump.
Yeah.
Whether they start piling up, whether any of them are truly disqualifying, we'll wait and see. But those are the things that are kind of hanging around President Trump.
Historically, are there any candidates that we're seeing that would be better or worse for housing?
No, I think at this point, when you talk to our Florida members, they've had a great run with Governor DeSantis. Tim Scott just released a housing legislation and a blueprint.
Yeah.
Obviously Donald Trump comes from the building side of the family. We saw what his policies were like for 4 years. Governor Haley, great relationship. South Carolina's got a great, robust housing economy. So I think all of them have the bona fides of being pro housing as well as being pro strong economy. So far, I think we're going to be okay.
All right, nice. So let's stick with a little bit of politics and what's going on here in D.C. The week of June 5th is going to be a very busy week, especially if you're part of the NAHB leadership.
Yep.
So we've got our board meeting starting, but you also have LegCon.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Wednesday, June 7th, right in the middle of the week of the spring leadership meetings, we've got our legislative conference. 600 people are getting ready to come to Washington D.C. and walk the hill and walk the halls of Congress. So we're really excited. We've got 3 issues that we're focusing on. Of course, members are going to bring all kinds of issues with them, and that's really important too. But we're going to talk about transformers, the lack of transformers, how it's hurting the ability to bring power to homes and continue to build homes. Number 2, we're going to talk about workforce development. Obviously, that's a long-term issue for our industry, and we continue to see month after month of hundreds of thousands of job openings in the sector. And then energy codes. Of course, that goes to the regulatory burdens on housing, especially new construction. We're going to talk about how we can get to energy efficiency without really turning it up to 11, or more importantly, making sure we're factoring in housing affordability when we talk about energy efficiency.
Right. Oh, excellent. So
it should be a great week.
Yeah, should be. We also have the Innovative Housing Showcase.
Yeah,
coming
tell us
up.
about it. You've been pointing on that with HUD again.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time in 4 years that we've partnered with them to get this program on the mall. Right now we have about 30 exhibitors that are coming.
That's great.
So, and basically most of them are actually like homes or tiny homes or different variations of a home. We're actually going to try and do a multifamily exhibit there as well. Cool. So it should be fun. I mean, it's always very well received, as people come to the mall and, first ask what's going on here, but then when they can go through the exhibits and kind of see some of the innovative stuff that home builders are doing, they get pretty excited. And, I think it's well received, and it's something that hopefully, I think last time we had about 10,000 attendees over the 3 days. This time it's from...
Yeah, what are the dates?
Yeah, it's June 9th, which is that Friday, through the 11th. That's Sunday. So
we have committee meetings, but not everybody's in a committee meeting. We've got the leadership council meeting on Saturday. So look, this is the best time of year to be in DC.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so get down, take some time with your family, and go walk the mall. It's in the most perfect spot in all of Washington DC, sandwiched on the mall, right in the shadow of the Capitol. So.
That's right. So Jim, another great episode, I think.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody. Talk to you soon. I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez. Take care.
Thanks.